Good evening to you here on this Tuesday, which is our regularly scheduled midnight movie talk time. Last night we did the live stream of the social media reaction to Doctor Strange in the Multiverse Madness. Multiverse Madness? Yeah, right. Doctor Strange 2. And tonight we're going to talk about the film and where it ranks in the pantheon of CBMs over the past 2 years. So we go back to 2021 for this. This is only 21 and 22 for these films of comic book movies as we talk about these things. And I sent a tweet out earlier. Let's show you what that looked like for those of you who missed it. It seems like most people were okay with what I said about my rankings of CBMs over the past 2 years. Let me pull it up right here. There's the latest tweet. And this is the ranking of all CBM films, MCU and DCEU, released in, again, 2021, 2022. So we're going to go over the list, but as you can see, 10 through 1. I'm going to go over each one individually here in a moment. But really, I'm kind of surprised I didn't get a little more heat for this, but I think at the end of the day, it's a very balanced list, right? We have an MCU film, even though it's Sony, and a DCEU film at the top, tied for number one in the Batman and No Way Home. Let's talk about the list right now and discuss where Doctor Strange 2 fits in on this list, because ultimately we're building towards Thursday when this film opens, still expecting 200 million. I don't think we're going to get really far above that, and that's based on this film's strengths and weaknesses and overall grade that I have for it. So last night I couldn't really talk about the film in depth, and the weird thing is I'm still having a little bit of an issue getting excited to talk about Doctor Strange 2. There's very few moments in this film that are the kind of things that elicit emotion like a No Way Home when we had all three Spider-Men. I know a lot of people say, that's fan service. Yes, it is, but it also worked, okay? Conversely, look at the Batman. Not a whole lot of fan service in that, but there were moments, especially introduction of the Batman, Robert Pattinson coming in for the first time, when that introduction is so well done. This film, Doctor Strange 2, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, does not have those moments. There's one major moment involving the Illuminati, and it's not that long, okay? That's one issue. But it is not enough to say this is a great MCU film. So let's rank them over the past 2 years, and we start with number 10. You know what we're going to go with here. It is Morbius. Now, some of you say that's not an MCU film. Of course it is. It's a Marvel product, even though even I will concede that Morbius is a film that does not feel at all like a CBM until we get to the end credit scene with Michael Keaton. Otherwise, it just feels like a vampire film. If you didn't even know better, you would just think it is just a film about a vampire. It is not from a comic book. It's not derivative of a comic book character. It's not great. But I also will say this. Morbius is also not as offensive and putrid as some of you want to make it. Okay? I think Jared Leto is always going to give you a very interesting performance. He will go for it no matter what it is. You want to see him really go for it, go watch Dallas Buyers Club. But if you want to see an actor doing interesting things, you're always going to get that out of Jared Leto. Therefore, the movie is not a total waste of time. Not a great film, but that's why it's at number 10. Number 9, we stick with Sony and we stay in the MCU, quote unquote. But yes, this one more so. Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage. This is really one of the dumbest films that I've seen in the past 2 years. But at the same time, Tom Hardy, like Jared Leto, different actors, obviously, but when you put them in a film, you're going to get interesting results. Tom Hardy does some bizarre things when he acts, no matter what film you're watching. And that's what carries you through Venom, Let There Be Carnage, which is, again, not a great film, but entertaining in a really stupid way. And that's why it's number 9, ahead of Morbius. Then we arrive at the first true MCU film, and frankly, the most disappointing of all of these films. When you saw that we had Chloe Zhao coming off of The Rider, and of course, Nomadland. The Rider is my favorite of those two films. You've got a true directorial talent handed an MCU property to bring this vision to the screen. And when you get to the result of sitting through Eternals, it's such a miss because of the possibilities. A lot of times, the films that I'm most disappointed by are the ones that you knew there was something there a lot better than we got. And when you watch the Eternals or just Eternals, you see what should have been in spots. And I think that's an issue that Doctor Strange 2 has as well. That's why they're extremely closely ranked here. As you're going to see in a moment, we have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness in the 7 spot. Essentially, I have these films at 8, 7, and 6 ranked about the same. 7, 7.5. So Eternals about a 7, Doctor Strange about a 7.5, and you'll see what's at number 6 in a minute. Let's talk about Doctor Strange, and then I want to get your comments because I can really drill down on it. Again, the issue with this film that I'm still having some 24 hours after sitting through the film, I'm not passionate at all discussing Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. That's an issue for me when you're doing a show and you're trying to come up with things to discuss about a film. It's really easy when you are super passionate about a film like The Batman, like any one of the films you see behind me. Essentially, pick one. I could go on for a long time about each one. Doctor Strange is really, for me, all about the Illuminati scene. That is the centerpiece of this thing, and then everything outside of that is just flat. If you really want to see, and you're going to see it on Thursday, the opening sequence of Doctor Strange 2 is one of the flattest intros, not just to a CBM, but to a film. It feels like it should. Like, I understand what they're trying to do with the opening scene, but it has no stakes. The CGI is truly bad. And then you have a film that goes kind of flat from there. So you have a bad intro, and that will always bring a film down, right? You need to start off with something to grab the audience's attention, your soul, your emotion. This doesn't have that. And that is why I have a film ranked slightly ahead. Now, this is where a lot of people go, wait a second, what are you talking about? Doctor Strange 2 below Black Widow? Yes, for that very reason I just mentioned. Black Widow, the beginning of that film is aces. I mean, that segment of them getting out of town on the plane is like a Bond film. It is gangbusters good. The issue is the film then wanders off. So it starts off high, unlike Doctor Strange 2, and then we start to go down. And then I still think, ultimately, why do I have Black Widow ahead of Doctor Strange 2? Elizabeth Olsen, best part of Doctor Strange 2. Best part of Black Widow, Florence Pugh and David Harbour. You have two really strong performances in a comic book movie with Pugh and Harbour. That is enough for me to take Black Widow at 6 ahead of Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. So when you see this film on Thursday, Doctor Strange 2, keep in mind what I said about Black Widow. Go back, remember that film, especially the opening sequence. And then think about Pugh, think about Harbour and what they bring to that film, and you will see why I have that film ranked ahead. At number 5, a film that should have been better than it actually is, given those involved, James Gunn, after Guardians, 1 more than 2 for me. You're talking about, let's give this guy a DCEU thing and let him just go with it. Suicide Squad has moments of greatness and moments of total badassery, but then there are things that just are flat in between. Just like so many films, it's hard to get that consistent kicking ass level up, like No Way Home. Don't tell me No Way Home doesn't have the emotion over every single one of these films I'm going to discuss here tonight. No Way Home slaughters them all. Easy. It's not even a contest. Suicide Squad has, I think, one thing that Suicide Squad has that Doctor Strange 2 does not have, and by the way, Doctor Strange 2 really leans on the Suicide Squad, and you're going to see what I'm talking about when you watch. There is a scene very early in Doctor Strange 2 that is literally a rip of Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad, only it's so much worse. Effects are worse. It doesn't play as well. And I think Suicide Squad finishes high. That's why I have it at number 5. At number 4, a film that I did not expect really anything from, Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings. This is a film that is, when I saw it, I said my expectations were low, right? It's one of these second, third, fourth tier Marvel property, and you really have nothing to get excited about. And then you watch the film, and then you say to yourself, wait a second, Shang-Chi has so much to offer, and it's extremely entertaining. Overlong, I'll give you that all day. The thing that I love most about Shang-Chi is Aquafina. And the reason, not just I like Aquafina, but what I like in Shang-Chi is watch that film and you've seen it. You know what I'm talking about. She is dialed down. Okay. She is dialed down Aquafina, which is bizarre because you would think that in a CBM, Aquafina would be off into next level Aquafina. That's not what she does in this film. And that is an absolute testament to Cretin because he gets his actors very grounded, and you can see it with Aquafina. Go back and watch Short Term 12, a real true. It's very close to a masterpiece for me. I love that film, the performances in that film across the board, unilaterally, everyone in that film, and the people who came out of Short Term 12 become big stars, including Brie Larson and many others, but Rami Malek was in it. But when you watch it, you see a director who has command of his actors and grounds them and makes them extremely believable. And in Shang-Chi, Aquafina somehow manages to do that. But that's a testament again to the director. Directors are important in getting the best actual performance out of their actors. And that is something that a lot of directors don't get enough credit for. I think James Gunn very clearly gets the best performances from his actors. That's one thing I said about Suicide Squad when I watched it. You see these actors are more comfortable working with James Gunn than I've seen them in a lot of other films they've been in. Speaks to the talent behind the camera and making them confident in their delivery and their performances. At number 3, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Even though I know it wasn't a theatrical release, this is a film that is very clearly much better than the Justice League we got, the original version. It is too long. It is a 4-hour film, and I think if this film comes in at 240, it very likely would be closer to number 1. Right now, it's a strong number 3 for me. Length is the main issue. I think the Flash scene in Zack Snyder's Justice League is the one of the best scenes of that entire year. That's how strong that Flash scene is. And again, to see what has happened to Ezra Miller is just it's sad. It's sad to see someone come off the rails like he has. Hopefully he can get it together. I don't know what's going to happen with the Flash because he has done so much damage to his personal brand that he now is a liability for Warner Brothers and they release this film. They're going to try to get distance and time away from that. I don't think they're going to go back and reshoot it, put someone else in it. They're going to put it out. They're praying that people let it go away. It's already died down over the past few weeks. Time heals all wounds. Warner Brothers is praying that happens for The Flash. But I have Zack Snyder's Justice League at number 3. And a tie at number 1, very easily here for different reasons. No Way Home. The emotion of No Way Home, without doubt, the 3 Spider-Men, especially when you expected them to be cameos, and it turns out that all 3, certainly the 2 that we bring back, are not just cameos, right? They are legit part of the film, a very big component of the film and the storytelling. And that is what works so well in the build. I think Watts doesn't get nearly enough credit for his directorial prowess. And when you watch that, and we go back and we talk about Doctor Strange 2, and I'm going to get to your comments in a minute, is Sam Raimi, when you watch Doctor Strange 2, you're going to see a film that you see Sam Raimi, then you don't. Then you see Sam Raimi, then don't. And I think that's the strange thing. It's almost like the reshoots were someone else in some of the film with Sam Raimi. When you watch No Way Home, even though I'm sure there were reshoots, you can tell it's the same director. The film feels like the same thing throughout. Doctor Strange 2 doesn't. I think that's another strength in No Way Home, is that it is consistent across the board and gives you everything in a 2:30 runtime, which should be over long, but it isn't because they use the multiverse so much better than Doctor Strange 2. So there's no comparison. The multiverse usage in Spider-Man No Way Home is eons better than the multiverse usage in Doctor Strange 2. And tied for number one is the Batman. And this is all about Matt Reeves. This is about Matt Reeves and filmmaking. For me, filmmaking is everything. Directorial talent is everything. Cinematography, score, editing, everything this film has. It is a slow burn. I will give you that. And for a lot of people, it's way too methodical. But it is also a work of art. And anytime we're talking about artwork in film, which Matt Reeves does, I still think Let Me In's a better film. I love Let Me In. Let Me In is a true masterpiece, a better version of the foreign version than Let the Right One In. But anytime you've got Matt Reeves operating the space, Greg Fraser shooting this thing, this is, again, art. This is cinema. That's why it's number one. And both films, Spider-Man No Way Home and Batman, for different reasons. No Way Home for the emotion of it, and Batman for the cinephilic nature of it. And those are my rankings for the MCU and DCU films of the past 2 years. Again, Doctor Strange way back at number 7. And you'll have a chance to see it on Thursday night. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. I'm willing to bet big money that you will have the same reaction, a very muted reaction to this film. It's not the worst film on the list, but it's way back there. Okay, it is just ahead of Eternals, and it is behind Black Widow. That is where Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is for me in the top 10 films, a film that I really have a hard time getting passionate about. And it's very disappointing to say that. I want to see this film succeed at the box office. It's not going to do the numbers I thought it was going to do because the word of mouth will not be as strong for this film as I initially anticipated. That's the verdict that I have for this film. Let's get to the comments here on this Tuesday night. We'll pull them up. We'll get to it. And we will go to Sipash. I hope that is right. I have no issue with fan service as long as the story is well told. Same thing. Fan service gets a bad rap. People say, oh, I don't want fan service. Of course you do. You want to have those moments, and that's where Doctor Strange 2 works. The Illuminati, which is fan service. When you see it, you'll see what I'm saying. That is the best part of the film. It is. You will absolutely agree with that. And then it'll be over before you know it. And then you'll be like, whoa, what happened? So yes, fan service, when it's done well and told in the service of the story and works and not just shoved in there, then it works. And No Way Home, it works across the board. I don't care if it's fan service. It works as part of the story, as Supash says right here. Thanks for the comment. Appreciate it. Let's go to Aaliyah. Good evening to you. When we see it, we may think this scene or that scene is awesome, and this is what makes the movie great, yet difficult to talk about now because most of us not seen the movie yet. I understand. Yes, and that's why I'm still not getting too hard in screwing down into the dirty details of this film. But it is going to come back to the Illuminati scene. And no, it is. You guys are going to see the film and you're going to say, this is the one that and this is the centerpiece, and this is what works. And then Elizabeth Olsen doing her thing. But again, I still say that Florence Pugh and David Harbour in Black Widow greater than essentially Elizabeth Olsen on her own in Doctor Strange 2. I do like Benedict Cumberbatch. I think there's a whole thing that we need to talk about with Benedict Cumberbatch. There are times, and this goes even to Power of the Dog. I'm not going to say every single performance that I see from Benedict Cumberbatch. There are times that I say, I'm not sure that was the best take. Do you feel me? Have you ever been there? Have you watched a Benedict Cumberbatch performance and you say, even when he says, let's Scooby-Doo this crap, there's a way to deliver that line differently. First of all, he says crap too much. Wait till you see Doctor Strange 2. That's his crutch, crap. But there's a way to deliver a line that you can it's a pause, just little mechanics that actors can do. And sometimes I don't see it as much with Benedict Cumberbatch. There's a movie he did called The Mauritanian, which I know none of you have seen, and rightfully so. but I recommend you put it on just to watch his performance as a Southern accented lawyer. It is not a good performance by Benedict Cumberbatch. I think that there might be a little bit of an issue there. And I know you guys are like, you're saying that Benedict Cumberbatch can't act? No, I'm not saying he's a bad actor. I'm saying there are some things that make me say, which with really great actors, you don't really see that. Every single thing is good. You don't see those moments where you go, wait, that was a wrong note. With Cumberbatch, again, watch The Mauritanian. You'll see a performance that you go, I don't know. I don't think that's very good. But he gets away with it because it's Benedict Cumberbatch, right? Because that's how the world works. Once someone sees you as X, then it's very hard to, oh, no, he's one of the best actors. He's a preeminent actor. We can't say that he's not a good actor. Not saying that. I'm saying there are moments. Go watch The Mauritanian and you tell me that's a good performance. You won't be able to do that. I promise you. And good luck watching the movie. It's a total slog. Jodie Foster is good, but the movie is not great. You could see Jackie Chan influencing Shang-Chi. Yes. And it also is just entertaining. Shang-Chi's fun because it's like we haven't been here before. It's fun in a way Eternals should have been, but it wasn't. Eternals should have had more just levity to it, and it didn't. And I understand that's not what Chloe's strengths are, but still inject a little bit more than just the IKEA table joke. Oh my God, Lanes are such a thud, right? When that trailer, the table, it's IKEA, and you're just like, ooh, this movie's not going to be good. And that's proved it. I said that. I said a tweet about that IKEA joke. And I said, if that's the best they have, we're in trouble with Eternals. I think I was right because that was not a great film. Okay, let's get to Visme. Thank you for joining. It looked like a variant of Tony Stark. Thank you, appreciate that. Yes, tonight I have the headphones off. You can see the ears and everything tonight. Very excited. But yes, I got that all the time. It's funny, when I grew this goatee out, I wanted to look like Johnny Depp, and that clearly has not worked. It's had, so I'm going to keep it, but that was not the point. The point was to look like Johnny Depp. I don't know if I want to do that now, but I think he's coming out looking pretty good out of that trial. I haven't watched any of it, but from what I've read, okay, if you're watching that trial, man. Hey, EW, what do you think? Marvel has lost some steam with Phase 4? Absolutely, Julian. No question they have lost. You talk about Eternals, that was a down. Black Widow, down. And then you have now Doctor Strange 2, down. The best Sony is the best Marvel film in No Way Home. They better get it back on track. That's why Thor, Love and Thunder, we talked about this last night. This film, Love and Thunder, it has to be very good because they need to regain this momentum. They're losing it. And you're going to see it this weekend with a cinema score that's lower than everyone expected for Doctor Strange because the movie's not great. Okay, some people are really going down on this film. I'm not going to get that far down on it. I will say this. I was going to see it on Thursday to see it again. I think I'm going to skip it. I don't think I'm going to see it again. I don't really want to see it. Again, it gets back to me feeling any kind of passion for the film, and I don't have it. 24 hours later, I largely have forgotten what I watched with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and I don't relish saying that to you guys. I'm not, listen, when I put out the list today, it's not like I love MCU and I hate DCU, or conversely the other way. I think of myself just as a regular dude watching films. I mean, the films behind me, very few of these are CBM films. I'm an awards guy, so I can watch any kind of film. I don't really have a dog in the fight, as it were. And I think that's the best place to be when you watch any one of these films, is you don't have an agenda that you're imprinting onto your critique of a film. Do you think Doctor Strange 2 will replace Black Panther as number 8 biggest opening weekend, or will it make more than 200 million, slightly more? Now, in the MCU, Aaliyah, it would be number, I believe, what is it, 3? Let me pull that up real quick. It is, I think we talked about the other night, I think it's 202 for Black Panther, and then we are talking about that's the number 3 opening. Okay, so Black Panther is the number 3 opening. I'll pop up the actual tab. 1 second, we'll get that up. Okay, so look here. This is where we stand. You got Endgame with an opening of 357. That'll never be touched. I don't think any film will ever do that again, not even Avatar 2. Avatar 2 will be big, but not that. it won't be that big. If Avatar 2 happened closer to Avatar 1, different story. It's been so long. I think you're going to have to regain momentum. They're going to do a good job. They're going to work hard at that. Disney's already doing it, planting the seeds. They got time, but I still think we're not going to hit that again. No Way Home at 260. And then we have, Infinity War is at 257. Here's the thing. So Avengers, so Black Panther is 5, okay? Is the 5th biggest opening at 202. That's where I'm looking. I'm looking at Black Panther at 202 and Avengers 207. Now, I meant initially I said 222. After seeing the film, I think it's going to be lower. And the reason it's going to be lower is because the film is not great. If the film were great, I would push the number and I'd hold 222 and maybe push. As such, I'm going down closer to 200, and maybe we don't even get to 200. I'm not sure about that. I just know that the film is not going to have the word of mouth it needs to explode above a number. It's going to have a really solid Thursday, good Friday, maybe Saturday, and then you're going to possibly see it drop because of the word of mouth not being as strong. So we will see if that happens. If it does, it'll be the 5th opening, biggest opening, if it beats Black Panther at 202. I think that's where it should be, somewhere around that number. Inishiraj, I hope I said that right. After these mixed reviews, I think Doctor Strange 2 will end up at around 900 and 950 million. And that is obviously worldwide. I assume that's what you're saying. Because we know that the Batman tapped out at about 750. This will put that above that number, which I think is MCU. It should. Even though it's not family friendly, I want to address this. I saw a tweet today from John Campea saying that it's not family friendly, the general consensus. I would say that I would agree largely, but I would not say it's not family at all like the Batman was. It's MCU. I think you can get away with some of this. There are the horror elements because it's Sam Raimi and there's violence. What comic book movie does not have violence and people dying? It's not as strong and as thick as the Batman, the serial killer. Okay. And we know the Riddler and what happens in that film. That's a very dark film, which is one of the reasons it's number 1 because it really works. And that's a great space that Matt Reeves operates in. Again, Let Me In, very similar vibe. But this film is MCU, so you're going to get families to go see it. So that number is going to be higher. So I think that's a good number, 900, 950. And the opening weekend at 200 and then worldwide. Remember, China is in semi-lockdown, if not full lockdown. It's a mess over there. They're doing that. And then you've got Russia in the situation with no one going to, studios aren't giving them the films because of what's happening with that, with Ukraine and Russia. So because of that, you've got Russia out. So now you're looking at, maybe 900, might not even hit 900. After seeing it, the number comes down. Rel, good to see you this evening. Marvel fans already getting mad at the bad reviews for Doctor Strange. I don't know why people get mad. Well, there's no reason to be angry about a review. Unless the critic has shown that they are biased against MCU or biased against CBMs, there's no reason to be angry at a critic for a bad review. You would just have to look at their body of work. If they're not saying Doctor Strange 2 is great, but they love the Batman or they love No Way Home, then you have to say, well, maybe it's the film. So again, just wait. Before you get angry about people giving a bad review to a film, wait till you see it. That's always the hard. It's so easy to say you don't know what you're talking about until you watch the film and then you come out and you're like, Eric was right. It's flat. Well, of course, after you see enough films, you know what's good and what's bad. You should be able to do that. Again, Rel, what makes the Flash scene so great is Ezra's inner dialogue. That is one of the best scenes. That's where the movie really turned for me and really turned on. Justice League. The Flash scene is so strong, and again, it just makes me sad as hell for Ezra Miller and what the hell's going on in that guy's head. I hope he gets it together. I really do. Drew Lindo, odds on MCU bringing back any OG Avengers to fill the void in Phase 2. They might be talking about it. I mean, hey, can't we have everybody reincarnate? I mean, there's always a way, Batman versus Superman. There's always a way to bring someone back. Hey, Tony, how much money can we give you, RDJ, to come back? I don't think that'll ever happen. I'm just saying there's always a lot of money to put on the table. It really comes down to how desperate they get. But I really think that this film is going to struggle. And then you're going to have to say, what are we going to have to do? That's why Thor, Love and Thunder is everything. The pressure is on that film now. The pressure is on that film to really deliver. And with Guardians, with Hemsworth, with a good core, a nucleus of legit MCU Avenger folk it should be the biggest film. Initially, I thought it was going to be this. I thought it was going to be Doctor Strange 2. Now, after seeing Doctor Strange 2, I have to put all of it onto Love and Thunder because it should be. It has to deliver. They're going to need that. Marvel's going to need that movie to be very good. No pressure, Taika. None at all. Aaliyah, I'm most intrigued about what the cinema score will be. It will determine legs. I think it's going to be an A minus, B plus, somewhere in there. That will tell you, again, you don't want to fall below A minus. If it gets to a B plus, that's really not going to be solid at all. It's going to be very disappointing for Kevin Feige and the Marvel people. It's going to be very bad. You really want it no lower than an A minus. I hope that it is better than, if it gets to an A, I'll be shocked. I'll be shocked. All right, here comes some, you guys want me to ruin things, don't you? Mr. Legend, how many cameos are there in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and which ones were your favorite? I will just say this. It is the Illuminati. The Illuminati is the number one thing in the film. When you see who is in the Illuminati, some of you might know this. When you see certain people playing certain characters, that is cool. Again, that is the strength of the film, and unfortunately, it's short-lived. But enjoy that film. Enjoy that segment. That scene is good. Mr. Legend, again, my brother's saying you're an Iron Man. Tell your brother I'm not. If I were, I would definitely not be doing a live stream YouTube right now. I'd be counting my money. RDJ, like literally sitting at home with his 500 million in the bank. He's just chilling. He needs to make a cool movie. RDJ needs to make a really interesting indie film. I told you if I were him, I would get on the phone and I'd say, hey, Safdie brothers, I am down for whatever you want to do in your next film. Look what it did for Adam Sandler. He just needs the right film. He'd be perfect in a Safdie brothers film. Get it done. Somebody, his agent, needs to tell him to not make movies like Doolittle ever again and make things that are cool like Safdie brother films. This is a great ranking, by the way. Thank you, Drew. Appreciate it. I mean, I think when you see Doctor Strange, I think you're gonna say that's about right. You might have it above or below Black Widow. I know a lot of people aren't fans of that movie, but again, I tell you why Black Widow's ahead. Opening scene, Pew Harbor. Those three things give it the edge over Doctor Strange 2, which really only has Elizabeth Olsen and Illuminati. So that's three things versus two. There's even the end. Although I will say Benedict Wong is very good too. Benedict Wong is very good. But he's not a lot of the film. He's in it, but he's not, as heavily featured as Elizabeth Olsen and certainly Benedict Cumberbatch, who's in virtually every frame of the film. We're going to switch gears a little bit here, Benjamin. I like that. We can do it. Just saw The Northman. Keep preaching to cut, runtime, and movies. 100%. So many movies could be so much better with 20 minutes cut from the theatrical cut. I preach this all the time. Movies really should be 150 or under. I really want to see it at 140, 145 or under. And this is a film that is like, what, 210? Is it 220? I can't even remember. I sat through it. I want to say it's 210. If you bring that in at 150, 140, it's a better film. These directors got to understand they've got to get out of their own way and cut their film down. Even The Batman is too long at 3 hours. Bring it in at 2.5. Try to get to 2:15. There's ways. If we sat down, all of us sat down, we could watch and say, here's a cut, get rid of that. This scene doesn't really matter. There's a way to do it. That's what they do with test screenings. You've got to be able to get out of your own way as a director and make your film sing and fly. And I go back to Killing Them Softly, which is Andrew Dominic, which is Brad Pitt, which is Greg Fraser cinematography. That is an hour and 35 minutes. And you know why it's an hour and 35? Because Harvey Weinstein, who's a piece of trash, one thing he was good at was making directors cut their films down. There need to be studio execs who have the same balls, as it were, to say, listen, man, you got to make your movie 140. End of discussion. Get it there. Because it always happens. It happens too often these days. Hayden Seal, what's your main channel? This is it right here. If you go to it, you should link it up. It's all there, and I really appreciate it. If you do like what you see, like, subscribe, all that. Again, you find me on Twitter, you find me here, and help me spread the word. This is fun. We do this on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Last night we did it because we had Doctor Strange 2. I'll be off tomorrow. I'll be back on Thursday with your reaction to this film because I really want to hear you guys and what you have to say, because that is really going to tell me if I was in the same ballpark. I know I will be. I feel like I have a pretty good finger on these films. RDJ is an Oppenheimer. That's very good news. But that film has so many actors in it. I feel like he's going to be something. It says he's the lead. Let's hope it is. He might just be taking it to work with Nolan, but I hope he is the lead. He's too strong of an actor to be doing these things like Doolittle. Oh God, what a horrible film! You know the worst part about Doolittle? If you haven't seen it, please don't watch it. The worst part about Doolittle is the ADR'd. They went back in and did the voice, his voice throughout the entire film. They went back into the studio. They call it ADR, and you go back and you'd redo it on a mic, right? So you do a scene, and then he goes back in and matches up his lips, and you can tell the whole time he went for a whole different accent. So whatever he did in the initial cut when he was actually filming on the set, he changed with ADR throughout the entire film in Doolittle. And it's so weird because you can hear it. It's one thing to have ADR for like a quick scene where, they interject they put the dialogue in for, one scene. Maybe it's the guy's facing the other way, right? And they can boom it in on the outside and you can't really tell. But in Doolittle, you can clearly tell that they ADR'd every single scene. Do not watch that film if you haven't watched it. Do not watch Doolittle. I pray you do not watch it. What a waste of time. Who is my favorite Avenger? It would probably be Iron Man, Spider-Man. Those are the two. I talk about the Mount Rushmore superheroes. Very easy for me. Batman, Superman, Iron Man, Spider-Man. Iron Man became that because of Robert Downey Jr. He's on Mount Rushmore. Anytime you're talking about a Mount Rushmore superhero, those four, you should be talking about very big box office. Unfortunately, Doctor Strange, another thing about Doctor Strange, and I think this is fair too, not a main character. Doctor Strange is a supporting character, right? There are actors who are supporting actors. There are actors who are leads. Doctor Strange is a supporting character. He really needs to be in the service of another story. In other words, No Way Home. Perfect Doctor Strange usage. Avengers, perfect, right? Throughout. But in this film, it's just not enough for me. There's something missing from that. He's not Iron Man, okay? That's the other issue. 2 hours and 6 minutes. Yes, it is. That's a better runtime. I heard it initially was 2 hours and 45, and the studio said, you're going to get this thing down. You're going to knock this thing down and get it to 206. I also want to make mention of something, and maybe somebody knows this out there and can dig into it. When you watch Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, you're going to see times that, again, you see Sam Raimi, and then you're going to see other times it looks like it was cut and paste, like some student director said, get a shot here for the recut, for the reshoots. I think that, I don't know. I'd love to get to the bottom of what happened with that film, because we know Derrickson was booted / relieved / walked off / whatever hell happened with that. He was Lord and Millard off of this. I feel Lord and Chris Miller are the best. I've talked to them multiple times. Coolest dudes. But that is a good usage of that. You've been Lord and Millard, which means you have been removed from a project, even though I bet their solo kicks the hell out of Ron Howard's solo. That movie's not good. But it would have been really good if you would have had Lord and Miller's solo. But yes, this film was kind of cursed. You had Derrickson booted, then you had Sam Raimi come in, and then I see parts where I'm like, did Sam Raimi even direct this? Is this directed by someone else? Did Kevin Feige say put a camera out and take that shot? I don't know. There's some weird things. They changed RDJ's accent for the whole movie. Yes, they did, Benjamin. Did you watch it? You know what I'm talking about. He went in and ADR'd the entire film. All of Doolittle is ADR'd. Re-voiced. That's insane, and it makes the film even worse. Chris Gore, good evening to you, sir. I bet he's probably at the 35 right now. He loves that dive bar in Pasadena. Iron Man's your favorite? Yes, and Spider-Man. I grew up with Spider-Man on the Electric Company. Only Gore would get that because he's old. The Electric Company was a show when we were kids that had Spidey on. Spider-Man would show up in like every 5th episode, and I'd be waiting every time. Is Spidey, going to be on the Electric Company? And then he was. It was super cheesy, but it didn't matter. It was just like awesome because it was Spidey. I'm super excited because I read all about the Illuminati growing up, and I just don't know what to expect. That's the best part of the film, Hayden. You will be very happy with what you see. Again, the problem is it's not very long. It's a major problem with the film. Let's go through the countdown one more time before we wrap here on this Tuesday night. Again, thank you. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff right here on YouTube. Let's go through the ranking of the CBMs of the past 2 years. At number 10, we have Morbius. Number 9, Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Number 8, Eternals. Number 7, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Sadly, very low on the list. Then we have Black Widow, Suicide Squad at number 5. Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings at 4. Zack Snyder's Justice League at 3. And a tie at number 1. At the top of the mountain, Casey Kasem has Spider-Man No Way Home, along with The Batman. And that will conclude our broadcast tonight. I really appreciate you guys watching. Again, like, subscribe, all that stuff. And I will see you again Thursday night with your impressions of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I will talk to you then. Have a good evening.